Hello guys, this is your friend Uzumaki Universe 2.0 and we are back in new fanfic. What if Naruto Tsunade had a child with an Uzumaki Part 1? Tsunade Senju was more than a little pissed. In all of the years that she had been alive, she had yet to accomplish the things that she truly wished to do. Sure, she was a powerful kunoichi that could kick any bodies in all of the land of fire, but that isn't what she truly wanted. No, what she had always wanted was a family to be there and congratulate her when she succeeded, a man to hold her in his arms and shower her with love, and a child that she could hold onto, train, and show him or her how much she cared for him or her. She had read in some of the oldest texts inside of the Senju clan compound about how when a Senju or Uzumaki was around the one that they were destined to be with, their mate, their body would react. When she had read this, she took her student Shizune and headed out into the world, hell bent on finding that one person that was practically made for her, but to no avail. She walked through the land of fire, wind, lighting, earth, water, and almost all of the minor countries trying to find that one special person, but to no avail. She had never once felt that supposed feeling of love at first sight, no matter how hard she tried. She had even tried to force the feeling to arise with Dan, but even then she knew that she was just trying to fool herself. Dan was a nice guy, but she knew deep down that he wasn't the one for her. He was far too soft, and he didn't have that wild personality that Tsunade secretly wanted. Soon though, her Sannin traveling rights expired and the third Hokage ordered her to come back and take over the hospital. He had even promised to add a medical ninja training portion to the academy for people who wished to become medical ninja. Now she was stuck in her same routine. Wake up, eat breakfast, go to the hospital all day, then go home, talk to Shizune, eat dinner, go to sleep. It was driving her crazy. She started wondering why she couldn't just have the child without the man. It would be so much easier anyways. Then it hit her like a brick: artificial insemination. It was the perfect way for her to have a child that she could dote on, but without the unsatisfactory sensation of having to sleep with a man that she didn't know or love. And like a gun, she was off. Walking down the streets, Tsunade had a lot to think about. I'm glad I can have my own baby now, giggle giggle, but who am I going to ask to donate their semen, so that I can become a mother? It can't be just anyone. They have to have all the quality of a good person, father, and also a highly skilled ninja. In that case it really narrows my choices down, doesn't it? The only men strong enough to even qualify are Kakashi, but he's a pervert with many other character flaws. Then there is Guy. No, no, no. There are far too many things wrong with him to ever be considered. The only two choices left that she would consider would be Asuma, and the Yodaime Hokage. Asuma she considered family since he was her sensei's son, and the Yodaime was currently in a relationship with the red-head whirlpool princess. Sighing in defeat, Tsunade decided she couldn't find someone to be the father of her children on an empty stomach, so ducking inside a local ramen stand to grab a bite to eat, when he search came to an end. There, putting down bowl after bowl of ramen, was the nine-tailed fox's host, and only other Uzumaki left in Konoha, besides Kushina, was Ken Uzumaki. He was not loved, but also not hated in Konoha. He had proven himself to the Hidden Leaf village and gained a fair deal of respect from the ninja portion of the village. The civilians were still weary of him since they didn't know much on tailed beast hosts, but after a couple of years their fears died down mostly, and he was able to live a fairly normal life. That didn't matter to Tsunade. What did matter to her is that what she had learned about the hosts, and the effects it had on their children, as rare as it was for a host to have children because of the innate fear most people had of them. The children usually obtained certain gifts from the tailed beast their host parents carried. The gifts Ken had received besides the giant chakra reserves that all hosts received was that his chakra regenerated very quickly. Something like that was very useful to a ninja, but that wasn't what Tsunade was interested in though. Ken had received a second gift from his guest that Tsunade knew would be able to keep her baby alive longer. That gift was his body's ability to regenerate. She had read reports on how he would receive injuries that would kill or cripple normal ninjas for life, but these injuries only kept Ken down for a week at most. Why didn't I think about this before? He is kind and humble because of the way he grew up. He is a powerful ninja. Even without the Kyuubi's help, he's very handsome with large muscles, a rugged face and long unruly hair, but most importantly his genetic material will benefit my baby the most in the long run. Now my baby will almost definitely survive a long life, even if he decides to become a ninja. All I have to do is convince Ken to give me some of his semen and I'll be a mother in 9 months, thought Tsunade, already fantasizing about her future child and all of the fun things that she was going to teach him or her. Sitting down beside the red-headed host, Tsunade cleared her throat. Hello Ken, my name is Tsunade Senju and I have come to talk to you on some very private and personal matters, spoke Tsunade, trying to sound as professional as possible about something that was completely personal. Ken, just noticing someone was beside him, looked up from his noodle to see one of the legendary Sannin speaking to him. Okay, what is it you need to speak to me about, Lady Senju? Was his reply. He liked to be as friendly as possible since it usually got people to warm up to him quicker. Tsunade, seeing no real way to make it sound any better, decided to just come out with it and see what happened. Ken, as you know, I am the last of the Senju clan and also single with no child. The single part doesn't really bother me that much since I have had time to deal with it. My problem comes in the fact that I have never had a child, and my one dream growing up was to have a big family. After my good friend Dan died, I gave up on ever having a family, but lately I have wanted to try again. That is why I have come to you, spoke Tsunade with a firm look in her eyes. Now Ken may not have been the brightest bulb in the pack, but to any man that sounded like a confession. Responding as quickly as he could, Ken tried to find out what she meant. Well, I hope you do have a family, since I too have also wanted to start a family, but with all the missions I take I doubt I will ever get the chance anytime soon. After that, Ken looked a little down. He knew that it would be hard to find a woman to love him, and to also bear his children. Tsunade noticed the downcast look and knew she had him just where she wanted him. Well, I believe we could find a way to help each other out then with our mutual family problem, spoke Tsunade with more pep in her step. She knew that she was going to get what she wanted, without a doubt. Ken, looking up and wondering where this conversation was going, asked, and how are we going to do that? Ken was starting to think that the Tsunade Senju, the woman that every man fantasized about, was going to ask him to have a one-night stand with him. Tsunade smiled, and then replied, have you ever heard of artificial insemination? It wasn't something that she personally liked since it was sort of like the twisted experiments that her old teammate did, but she also knew that it was natural in a way, so she got over it. Shaking his head, no, Tsunade explained that by taking the semen and injecting it into the female egg, a child could be conceived even when hadn't occurred. The process wasn't that difficult, and after the egg that had been placed inside of the woman, it would grow naturally. After explaining the process, Ken decided that he would be more than happy to donate his sperm to Tsunade if she agreed to let him spend time with their son. Tsunade wasn't happy about that but agreed. She knew her child would have hated her for keeping away possible the only other relative they had. After they got done eating, they made their way to the hospital where she could implant Ken's seed into herself. When Tsunade got home, she saw Shizune making them something to eat. Tsunade kind of felt bad about Shizune since she felt she was the one that had kept her from meeting the man that she would fall in love with just so she could take care of her in her depressed state. She also felt bad for making Shizune cook and clean as well since she was terrible at that sort of thing. Hello Tsunade-sama, where have you been? It is getting dark, spoke Shizune as she looked behind her to see her absolutely glowing teacher and friend. She had heard her teacher squeal about something this morning and then head out quickly. She was curious as to what it was that caused these effects. Guess what, Shizune? Spoke Tsunade with the biggest grin that she had ever had on her face. It was actually kind of scary, which was the reason Shizune took a few steps back so that she didn't get caught in some bipolar attack. What happened, Tsunade? You left very early this morning and even skipped your shift at the hospital. The Hokage was contemplating sending Anbu looking for you, but I convinced him that if you had been captured there would at least be lots of collateral damage to the village, spoke Shizune with a sigh. There was more than one village that they had been kicked out of for because Tsunade got drunk and then started using her super strength recklessly. I had the best idea I have ever had this morning, and long story short, I am going to be having a baby, Tsunade practically squealed as she pulled a shell-shocked Shizune into a bone-crushing hug. Shizune looked like a deer caught in some headlights while Tsunade looked like she was drunk with her overly happy face. Wait a second, Tsunade, are you telling me that you ran off this morning and did that with some man you didn't even know, just so you could have a baby? Asked Shizune incredulously. She knew that her master had wanted a child of her own, as well as a husband, but she wouldn't have ever guessed she would have been willing to sleep with some random man, fight the rejection process of her Senju blood, just so she could have a baby. Of course not, spoke Tsunade with a small wave of her hand like that wasn't even worth mentioning. I used artificial insemination to get pregnant. This way I can choose the best mate whose DNA will benefit my baby the most, while I won't have to do that with him, nor will I be forced to live with him either, spoke Tsunade like she had just tasted something sour, but then she gently rubbed her belly and the smile came back to her face. Shizune was shocked by what her master was telling her, but she had to admit it was a much better idea than any of them had come up with these past 10 years. It might in fact be the only chance that Tsunade had to become a mother, and though she didn't say anything, Shizune was actually giving it some thought as well. But what about the baby's biological father? Who is he, and won't he want to be a part of his child's life? Asked Shizune, seeing the annoyed look crop back up on Tsunade's face. She had obviously hit a rough spot, though she wasn't surprised. Tsunade was a bit petty in the fact that she didn't like to share. It was one of the reasons Shizune was still single. It wasn't that she and Tsunade did things together, it was just that Tsunade didn't want to be a third wheel, and the fact that Shizune was sort of a wallflower was also a factor as well. I chose Ken Uzumaki to be the father of my children, spoke Tsunade, seeing the surprised look on her student's face. Along with all of the benefits that come with having Uzumaki blood, there is also the fact that he is the Jinchuriki of the Nine-Tails Fox, which gives him larger chakra reserves, quickly regenerating chakra reserves, and quick regeneration physically as well. With all of these things my baby will surely have all he needs to succeed, spoke Tsunade as she started gushing again and rubbing her belly. Shizune was scared of when the mood swings would set in. Tsunade was already very temperamental as it was. Inside of the Uzumaki compound were two people. The first was a lovely young woman by the name of Kushina Uzumaki, and the second one was a young male by the name of Ken Uzumaki. They were both family, and unfortunately the last of their clan since it had been destroyed during the last Great Shinobi World War. Kushina was inside the kitchen trying to cook, but Ken knew that he would have to go behind her and clean up her mess, then start cooking their meal. Kushina had a lot of great qualities, it was just that cooking wasn't one of them. Ken was also wondering how he was going to break it to Kushina that she would be an aunt soon, and that he would be a father, though he wouldn't be married to the mother of his child, and that he would probably only see the baby 1 week every 2 weeks, or possibly just on weekends. Kushina had a history of freaking out and becoming very violent. It was one of the reasons that he suspected that her relationship with the young 4th Hokage wasn't going as well, and he also suspected that he wasn't her chosen one, and that she was just trying to force the feeling to pop up. Ken would have told her it was pointless, but he valued his life way too much. Ah, shouted Kushina as the pot that she was cooking in started to boil over. She tried turning down the oven, but it wasn't fast enough, so now she had a big bowl of noodles boiling over onto her stove, causing steam and all kinds of crap to start to rise. "So it is finally my turn," came a voice from behind her, which caused her to get irritated quickly. She turned around and saw her brother looking at her with a smirk on his face that made her want to hit him upside the head with a cast iron skillet. "You know it isn't very manly for a man to be a good cook," spoke Kushina in a childish voice that bellowed how jealous she was that her brother could cook like a pro, but she would probably end up dead if she lived alone, if it wasn't for takeout. "Yay, but it is even worse for a woman to not be even able to boil noodles for homemade ramen," spoke Ken with a grin on his face, though he knew he was pushing his sister a bit too much, especially with that cast iron skillet in her hands. Kushina went to say something, or hit him with the cast iron skillet, but then a thought popped up in her head, causing her to forget to give her brother brain damage. "Hey, where did you go earlier? When I said I was going to make us some dinner, you all of a sudden said you needed to go somewhere and you only just got back," spoke Kushina, giving Ken the death glare. "You didn't go to the ramen stand and fill up on their ramen, did you?" asked Kushina with murder in her eyes. Ken knew that he was in between a rock and a cast iron skillet place, but he had just the thing to shock Kushina out of giving him her punishment. "Well, Kushina, Lady Tsunade sent for me, so yes, we did meet up at the ramen stand, but it was purely business," spoke Ken with his hands raised, showing Kushina he didn't want to die. Kushina gave Ken a look that said she didn't believe him, but she would give him the benefit of the doubt. "So what did Lady Tsunade want?" asked Kushina, thinking that she would be able to catch Ken in a lie, thus getting to punish him twice as much. "To have my child," spoke Ken, instantly seeing a blank look in Kushina's eyes. "What?" asked Kushina, thinking that she had heard Ken wrong. "She asked if she could use my semen for something called artificial insemination, so that she could have a child without finding her chosen one," spoke Ken, knowing that this night wasn't going to end anytime soon. For the next few hours, Ken prepared dinner for his sister while answering the 1,000,001 questions she was shooting his way in rapid succession. It was annoying, no doubt, but he did love his sister, and he knew that after she let it slip that she had dumped the fourth Hokage, that she needed this distraction. Finally, Ken was able to placate his sister, but she went on about how she was going to talk to Tsunade and iron out all of the details on how much time she and Ken were going to get to see their nephew, niece, daughter, son, and she was going to make sure that it was plenty, or she would show the Sannin just what kind of power she was packing. After a month of waiting, Tsunade finally took a pregnancy test, and when it showed up positive, everyone in the entire village heard her shouts of happiness. Many congratulated her on her pregnancy. People were happy the Senju clan would continue, also people started treating Ken even better. Everyone knew about the artificial insemination, but none could really blame them. Tsunade and Ken had always wanted a family. 9 months later, as Tsunade was giving birth to her child, she kept repeating to herself that she would never tell another woman in labor to breathe continuously, because it was pissing her off. Obviously she needed to breathe, she wasn't doing this to die. Why did they have to keep repeating themselves? She wasn't an idiot, she could remember to breathe after all. Tsunade finally got to hold her baby boy, after 12 hours in the delivery room. He was so cute. He had his father's build and handsome facial features, but had her sky blue eyes, her flawless skin, and golden blonde hair that seemed to glow even in the faded room. The strange thing in her opinion was that he had the same exact markings as her granduncle, except instead of one on each cheek he had two, but he didn't have one on his chin, and instead of red they were a light green color. It was strange, but she was sure that it was probably just a Senju thing that popped up every few generations. She knew he was going to have fangirls just for being the last male Senju, but now she knew she was going to be beating them off with a stick. He was going to be powerful, something fangirls flocked to, handsome, another things fangirls flock to, and rich, the most important thing fangirls flock to. Tsunade was going to have to make sure that her son didn't fall for some fangirl, or she may have to bash his head with a very heavy rock. One of the nurses took her baby out of her arms and began to take his measurements and things like that. To everyone's shock, the space in front of the woman began to swirl right before a man with an orange swirled mask came out of it and killed the nurse, right before he caught the baby in his arms. Well, now I wasn't expecting this. I had figured all of the Senju would die with you, Tsunade, but I guess I was wrong, though I may still be right if you don't do as I say, spoke the masked man as he pulled his kunai out of the nurse's head and held it above Tsunade's crying baby. Wait! Don't hurt our baby, shouted Ken as he took a few steps towards the masked man, trying to think of anything that would save his baby from this man. What do you want? I will give you anything, just give Tsunade back out baby, spoke Ken with tears forming in his eyes. Well, if you say it like that, then I have no choice but to oblige you, spoke the masked man as he pulled out a small slip of paper and threw it at Ken, whom deftly caught it in his right hand. Put the chakra suppression seal on yourself, Nine Tails, and the child will live, spoke the masked man. Ken didn't know what exactly was going on, but he had a good idea. The man was either here to stop the continuation of the most powerful clan in the elemental nations by killing their child, or he was here to unleash the nine tails that was inside of him, to destroy the Hidden Leaf Village. It wasn't much of a surprise, really. Many of the higher-ups knew that there were ninja trained to sneak into enemy village to unseal the biju that were inside of their current hosts to cause amounts of damage, but it had never happened to a Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails before. Everyone knew he, the Yodaime, and his sister Kushina were seal masters. Ken had spent all of his free time learning and creating seals that had to do with tailed beasts and their hosts. He had tried to invent a seal that would seal away the tailed beasts forever so that they would never be sealed inside of anyone and ruin their lives ever again. Ken looked at everyone in the room and sighed a bit. He took the chakra suppression seal and put it on his chest, instantly feeling it stopping his chakra in its tracks. He looked over at the spiral masked man with hatred in his eyes right before he said, "Okay, I did as you asked, now give Tsunade our baby back." Ken didn't know how he knew, but he did know that the spiral masked man was smirking. Ken's heart did sink when the man tossed the bundle that had his newborn son inside of up into the air, but when he turned around to watch the bundle fly through the air, a hand grabbed him and pulled him into some kind of twisting spiral before he was able to try and save his son. "Naruto!" shouted Tsunade, but she was strapped to her bed because the nurses were scared she would use her super strength on them, but luckily golden chakra chains came out of nowhere and wrapped around her baby before placing it on Tsunade's lap. Tsunade didn't need to look back because only one person had the ability to create golden chakra chains. After checking over her baby to make sure he was fine, she started shouting at everyone. "What are you all still doing here? Go tell the Hokage what has happened, and that he should prepare for an attack by an unknown alien and the Nine Tails," shouted Tsunade, looking around at the people in the room like they were idiots. Inside of one of the forests that surrounded Konohagakure, a large puff of smoke appeared right before a giant nine-tailed fox came out with evil red eyes. Soon these eyes took on the shape of the Sharingan and the masked man grinned behind his mask like a crazy person. "Kyuubi, you obey me now. Go forth and destroy this pathetic village. Soon you and the rest of your kind will become whole once more and this world shall be mine," spoke the spiral masked man with a grin on his face. He watched with glee as the fox did as he ordered it to and began to run in the direction of Konoha. As Ken lay in the GR, he looked over at the giant nine-tailed fox rushing towards his home with one thing on its mind. He couldn't let it destroy the village. There was no telling what would happen to his son and Tsunade if they didn't have the village to protect them from the other villages. They would be taken and possibly used to create a new Senju clan in whatever village was able to get a hold of them. Instantly he channeled chakra through his body and dark red chakra chains shot out of his body and began trying to restrain the nine tails. Ken could only hope that the Hokage was getting rid of the masked man, because he couldn't restrain he nine tails and the masked man at the same time. The fourth Hokage Minato Namikaze just got done defeating the masked man and saw the nine tails trying to break free from dark red chakra chains. Minato knew who made those chakra chains and quickly began running in the direction they originated from until he came upon Ken Uzumaki, who was drawing a giant seal out of his own blood. "Ken, are you alright? What is going on? How did the nine tails escape the seal?" asked the fourth Hokage, not understanding what was going on. He was happy to see golden chakra chains starting to wrap around the nine tails, but he also felt a pang in his heart. That masked man forced the nine tails out of me, and I am trying to draw an advanced seal that will seal the nine tails inside of the Shinigami, but even that will only last for limited amount of time. The nine tails will eventually free itself, but at least nobody will have to suffer the life of a Jinchuriki for a long time, spoke Ken as he continued to draw the intricate seal that he had invented. It was based off another seal that the Uzumaki clan had invented that summoned the death god, but this one had a different purpose. "Do you need any help?" asked the fourth Hokage. "Yay. Push as much chakra as you can into the seal, I'll do the rest," spoke Ken as he whipped some sweat from his brow. "Okay," spoke Minato. So Minato pushed as much chakra into the seal as he could, then the death god appeared, after the nine tails, and finally took both of Minato's and Ken's lives as payment for holding the Kyuubi for 100 years. Ken tried to say only his life was up for sale, but Minato cut him off. "It's for the good of Konoha, and I'm the Hokage, so it's my job to protect this village even at the cost of my own life." After telling his guards that the third is Hokage again and to tell him everything that happened, the death god finally took his payment, and took both of their souls for all eternity. After everything was said and done, the village was safe once more. Tsunade wasn't in any shape to help the injured, nor was she going to let her little Naru-chan out of her arms after what just happened, so Shizune took her place and started healing everyone she could. Tsunade was let out of the hospital a couple of days later with baby Naruto. On her way to the Senju compound, she ran into Kushina. She was looking awful after the death of her brother, and her close friend the fourth Hokage, but she put on that fake smile as she walked up to them. "Hello Tsunade, how is Naruto-kun?" shouted Kushina as she walked up to them and looked into the bundle that was closely nuzzled against Tsunade's giant rack. She started making baby noises at her new nephew that her brother had at least been able to meet before he died. "He's fine, just on our way to the Senju compound to put him to bed," replied Tsunade as she watched Kushina make a fool out of herself. She still couldn't understand why people wanted to make those silly sounds and facial features when they looked at babies, but she couldn't say anything since she had been doing it ever since little Naru-chan had been born. "So do you think I can come over sometime and see my nephew?" asked Kushina with a shy look on her face. She would see her nephew, even if she had to beat Tsunade over the head to do it, but the least she could do was ask first. Tsunade thought about it. "I did promise Ken he could spend time with Naruto, and since he has pet on, I guess Kushina can take his place in the deal," thought Tsunade as she looked over at Kushina. "Sure, why not, but you have to help take care of him from time to time," spoke Tsunade, liking the idea of having someone else to keep her Naru-chan protected in case some other village tried to kidnap him. "Okay, sounds good. Even though Minato wasn't my chosen one, he was still very close. So now I have a cute little boy to keep my mind clear of all those depressing thoughts," spoke Kushina as she gently took Naruto from Tsunade's reluctant arms and started to play with him as they walked over to their new home. It was a big thing when Kushina and Minato broke up. It wasn't that they weren't happy, it was just that Kushina wanted to save herself for her chosen one, since the Uzumaki were just like the Senju in that regard. So after a little talking and getting to know one another, Tsunade agreed to let Kushina live with her in the Senju compound. Kushina promised to teach Naruto the Uzumaki arts, such as Kenjutsu, Fuinjutsu, barrier ninjutsu, and water-style techniques. The Uzumakis were famous for their skills in the ninja arts as well as medical ninjutsu, but even Kushina was no match for Tsunade in that area. Tsunade already knew what she wanted to teach Naruto when he got a little older. First of all, chakra control, she hoped he got her naturally perfect chakra control. Then medical ninjutsu, and finally her signature super strength technique if possible, though she did want to teach him her strength of 100 seal as well, as that would yearly keep him from dying. She also had an ulterior motive for letting Kushina stay with her. She knew Jiraiya would come up with any excuse to stay at her house and try and spy on her while she bathed was changing. This way there wasn't anything he could teach baby Naruto that they couldn't teach him. It felt so good when she threatened to have Jiraiya arrested if he tried breaking into her house for any reason. Jiraiya was unhappy at how his teammate had treated him, and tried to lure her that he wouldn't try to turn her son into a pervert, but to no avail. When she went to the Hokage and had a restraining order put out against him, he knew she was serious, so he packed up his bags and decided to get back to his spy network. When people saw Naruto with Tsunade, Shizune, or much more rarely Kushina, they saw the way his hair seemed to shine, and how his eyes were the perfect shade of sky blue, so they began calling him the son of the Senju clan. The name became wildly popular and soon Tsunade began receiving requests for arranged marriages. Don't they have anything better to do than try and sell their daughters off to my newborn son? Tsunade yelled as she shifted through a rather large stack of mail, mostly about Naruto. Shizune and Kushina could only laugh at Tsunade's plight. It wasn't often that daimyo were sending marriage requests to people who were not royalty, but then again the Senju clan was like royalty inside of the Land of Fire, and was actually a recognized name in the government, so maybe it wasn't so crazy. For all they knew, daimyo were sending marriage requests for Tsunade when she was young and her parents simply destroyed them without her knowing. Tsunade was worried. The more popular Naruto became, the more other nations would take notice of him, if they hadn't already. She feared some crazed Iwa ninja was going to try and innate him, or a Kumo shinobi would try and kidnap him and turn him into a breeding factory, or even a crazed Kiri ninja would try to kill him thinking he may be a bloodline user like her grandfather with his wood-release Kekkei Genkei. That's why she had Kushina upgrade the Senju clan's barriers and also had someone with Naruto at all times. 5 years later, baby Naruto was running through the Senju compound at high speeds with an excited look on his face. He had always had way too much energy, which caused Tsunade, Kushina, and Shizune a lot of headaches, but they consoled themselves by saying it was a sign of someone with lots of chakra. Shizune Nichan, guess what? Kassen said that today was the day she would start teaching me how to be a really strong ninja like you and Kassen, and Kushina Nichan, spoke Naruto with his overly excited childish voice. He couldn't wait to start learning how to be a powerful ninja like his mother, and it was driving him crazy not starting immediately. Looking down, Shizune saw her favorite little brother. He had grown much in his 5 short years of life. He was now about 3 foot 10 inches tall. He was fairly tall for a joy his age, and about 50 pounds. His eyes still shined with pure happiness, and just looking into those eyes made her smile. Running her fingers through his chin-length hair that was still as bright as the day he was born, Shizune said, "Well, if she's going to teach you, then so am I." Naruto was about to explode when he heard Kushina come from behind him and say, "Then that makes 3 of us." Outside in the training ground, Tsunade was standing there ready to starting teaching her son about how to be a ninja when she saw him and his 2 Nichans coming out of the house. She sighed a bit knowing that they were going to want to teach him as well. "Kassen!" shouted Naruto as he ran at his mother, then jumped up into her arms. Tsunade smiled as her son hugged her and nestled his face in between her large breasts. He had always seemed to like them, typical male, she would say in her head, then laugh, confusing Naruto. I can already guess what happened, but Naru-chan, I think we will need to talk a bit about the basics before we start teaching you anything important, spoke Tsunade as she pried her son off of her and then sat him down on the side of a fallen tree so that he would be comfortable while they explained the basics to him. Naru-chan, your body is still too young and is still developing, so we can't do any strenuous physical activities or it will stunt your growth, and there will be no if, ands, or buts about it, young man, spoke Tsunade, seeing her son about to complain. He wanted to learn how to be a ninja, but he didn't want to wait, which was his fatal flaw right now. We will be teaching you things like chakra control, medical ninjutsu, shuriken jutsu, and things like that which are not a threat to your development, but don't worry, I promise you will love it, spoke Shizune with a smile on her face. She saw the deflated look on Naruto's face and thought he looked so cute. What about elemental ninjutsu, or genjutsu, spoke Naruto, wanting to learn those two things most of all, but he saw the way his family was looking, which gave him a sad feeling. It takes years to learn things like that, and if you don't have nearly perfect chakra control, you won't be able to use genjutsu anyways. Basically what I am saying, Naruto, is that what we're teaching you is the basics, well, not medical ninjutsu, but the rest is. Once you have mastered the basics, you will find that learning other things is much easier, so actually by doing this you will learn the things that you want much faster, spoke Kushina with a smile on her face. It wasn't a lie. If he did have perfect chakra control, then learning how to convert said chakra into elemental chakra would be much easier, but he obviously had large chakra reserves and they were still growing, so learning to control it would be an ongoing challenge, unless he had Tsunade's naturally perfect chakra control. Okay, shouted Naruto as he pumped his fist, getting ready to learn how to be a really cool ninja. His family started to giggle a bit, which confused Naruto, but he let it go and watched as Shizune Nichan picked a leaf off of a tree and then handed it to Naruto. What is this for? Asked Naruto, seeing that there wasn't anything special about the leaf. The first step in learning chakra control, spoke Tsunade with a scary look on her face that made Naruto gulp a bit. After a long day of training, Naruto had gone up to his room and had fallen asleep almost as soon as his head had hit the pillow. He had learned so many new and interesting things today that it had amazed his young mind, and he found that his mother and sister's constant praises of his abilities to be a great added bonus. Down in the dining room sat Kushina, Tsunade, and Shizune, all with shocked expressions on their faces. They had never expected what they had just seen to happen. Naruto's chakra control was amazing, and he had a natural grasp on it as well. His chakra reserves were huge for someone his age, so they had suspected that it would take a while for him to master the leaf balancing exercise, even with the natural skill Uzumaki and Senju were born with, but Naruto mastered the leaf balancing exercise in 10 minutes. Kushina and Shizune were speechless, while Tsunade's brain went on autopilot and started teaching him how to tree walk. When Naruto was quickly learning how to do that, they had all been just so shocked they were unable to speak and just kept watching Naruto get further and further up the tree with every try. Soon after only an hour of practice, Naruto had mastered that exercise as well, so for the rest of the day they taught him water walking, and kunai balancing. They were quickly seeing that chakra control wasn't a problem for Naruto regardless of his large chakra reserves. I still can't believe it, and I saw it happening with my own 2 eyes, spoke Shizune as she looked at the table with a blank stare. Her mind was going through 1,000,001 different things at once, like all of the possibilities that were open for Naruto. Chakra control was the thing she was sure would hold him up, not anything else, since Senju and Uzumaki were known for their natural skills, but it seemed that she was wrong. It was like a sixth sense to him. I actually wish I had the Byakugan now, because I am sure there is something going on with his chakra circulatory system that is allowing Naruto to control his large chakra reserves like that, spoke Kushina, slightly jealous since chakra control had always been a problem for her and her brother, though shape manipulation was second nature to them because of their Kekkei Genkai. She was thinking of all the things that Naruto could learn now that they knew he was a natural with chakra control. He could learn medical ninjutsu like Tsunade had always talked about, though her and Shizune had never believed he would be able to do it because of his chakra reserves, learn her super strength technique, how to create chakra chains, the strength of 100 seal, and so much more. Kushina absent-mindedly thought about all of the skills that they had that required almost perfect chakra control. I think Kushina is onto something. I will call a Hyuga to look over Naruto tomorrow because with his reserves he shouldn't be able to control chakra that well. I need to know if there is some kind of defect or mutation going on with his chakra system that could be dangerous in the future, spoke Tsunade, though she was thinking that if it was a mutation, and not lethal, then it could be a major bonus. It was like how Kekkei Genkai were formed, but instead of mixing two elements together, he would be born with large chakra reserves and an easy way to manipulate chakra, much better than some Kekkei Genkai in her opinion since those two things were what all ninja wished they had. Do you think that is why Tsunade, I mean the Hyuga would almost undoubtedly tell the elders of the Hyuga clan, then as you know the gossip would spread from there. There is no telling what damage this could do to the Senju reputation or to Naruto's reputation, spoke Shizune with a raised eyebrow. There were ways to examine the chakra system with medical ninjutsu, but it was long and tedious, and Naruto's attention only lasted so long before he started getting bored and would start trying to get away. While a Hyuga could do it quickly, it wasn't as discreet as they would want it to be. I am sure that I will be able to convince Hiyashi to keep this discreet, plus that prick owes me. If it wasn't for me his wife would be dead because of complications with his daughter Hinata, and possibly his only heir. I am sure he will have a second child regardless of the risks as it is a Hyuga tradition to have two children and then choose whichever is the best to lead their clan, spoke Tsunade obviously having problems with the Hyuga traditions, but it was law that the clans may practice whatever traditions they wished so long as they didn't threaten Konoha, since it was the pact they made when the first formed Konoha. Well, I guess if you put it that way then it should be fine. I just hope that there isn't anything wrong with little Naru-chan, spoke Shizune as she took a sip of tea thinking about how devastated she would be if her little Naru-chan was sick or injured. I bet he has some super cool power that lets him manipulate chakra super easy. If he could pee that on then the power his descendants would have is almost unimaginable. Who knows what ninja would be able to do with perfect chakra control and monstrous chakra reserves, spoke Kushina always being the optimistic one in the group. She knew there was nothing wrong with Naruto, everything in his family pointed towards a perfectly healthy, yet extraordinary child with endless potential. The son of a pure-breed member of the head family of the Uzumaki clan, a direct descendant of the first Hokage and super-powerful mother who had pure Uzumaki genes as well, and of course whatever factor the Nine Tails would play as it obviously would being sealed inside of Naruto's father. Alright, it is settled then. I will call Hiyashi over tomorrow so that he can look over Naruto, and if there is nothing wrong then all will be good, if there is something odd then we will have to tackle that in the morning. Right now I am so mentally exhausted that I just want to all asleep, spoke Tsunade thankful for having Kushina and Shizune to talk to. She would never be unhappy so long as she had Naruto, but it was nice having some more adult conversation than the ones she had with her 5-year-old son. She, Shizune, and Kushina all went to bed after that with thoughts of tomorrow on their minds. Naruto was practically jumping out of his skin as he ran out onto the training ground with his mother, and 2 Nichans. They had taught him how to levitate a leaf over his head, though that wasn't all that great, and walk up trees like he did the ground, that was awesome, and how to walk on water, which was amazing, now he could go fishing anywhere he wanted. He did notice that they looked like they were waiting on something though, which was a bit annoying for a 5-year-old who wanted to learn something new like he had the other day. Don't worry Naru-chan, Once Hiyashi looks over you, we can begin training, I promise, spoke Tsunade as she looked down at her son who looked like he was about to explode. She was thinking about testing for ADHD since he never seemed to be able to slow down, but she just figured it was another side effect of all that chakra he had that was just waiting to be burned into fuel for Naruto. Hiyashi Hyuga had very long, brown hair, and featureless white eyes like all members of his clan. He was wearing very traditional, loose-fitting robes with a long-sleeved, brown haori. Naruto thought that he looked like a girl, but his mother had taught him that saying things like that got him a time out, so he kept his mouth shut. He had received a message from Tsunade that she wanted him to examine her son using his Byakugan to make sure there wasn't anything wrong with his chakra circulatory system, which he found odd. Usually he would have sent a branch member to do such a menial task as a clan head shouldn't have to subjugate it to such petty work, but Tsunade had reminded him that it was she who had saved his wife and child, and probably would have to do so again in the future if he continued to follow his clan's outdated and stupid tradition, as Tsunade had called them, so he had agreed to do it himself. It had nothing to do with the fact that she said she would also be the person who made sure he never had another kid again using her monstrous strength if he refused, so he sucked it up and did as he was asked to do. When he made it to the Senju compound, Tsunade's eye stand was there to greet before she led him to the back of the large compound where Tsunade Senju, Kushina Uzumaki, and Naruto Uzumaki Senju were waiting for him. He just wanted to get this over as he had other things to do besides do tricks with his eyes for these people. Who is that guy? Asked Naruto, pointing towards Hiyashi with an innocent look on his face that made all of the women present just gush at his innocence. That Naru-chan is Hiyashi Hyuga, clan head of the Hyuga clan, and he is here because he agreed to help me to see if there is something physical that made it so easy for you to learn chakra control the other day, spoke Tsunade with a sweet voice, though the part about chakra control got Hiyashi's attention as that was basically the most important part of their clan's techniques. Maybe he would be able to learn something that would help them get stronger after all. I thought you were the best medical ninja in the world, so why would you this man mama? Spoke Naruto with a finger in his mouth and his big blue eyes looking up at her like a little puppy dog. Tsunade had found the ultimate weapon. There was nothing in this world that could deny that face. Well, you see, Naru-chan, I am the best medical ninja in the world, but it is still very difficult for me to examine the chakra system since it is so complex, and with your short attention span I figured having a Hyuga with the Byakugan look over you would be a much better solution to our current dilemma, spoke Tsunade, though she did have to explain to Naruto about the Hyuga clan and their famous dojutsu, the Byakugan. To say Naruto was amazed would be an understatement. Yes, while this is all fun and whatnot, can we please move on? I have other things to do today, spoke Hiyashi as he walked up to Naruto and then looked down on him. Byakugan thought Hiyashi as he looked down on Naruto and started to examine him. He let out a gasp in surprise, shocking all present at the reaction the head of the Hyuga family had. When he deactivated his Byakugan, he knew that they would all want an in-depth explanation as to what he saw. What was it? Is there anything wrong with my baby? Asked Tsunade as she slowly approached Hiyashi. Hiyashi knew that he better start talking quick, or Tsunade was going to start throwing him around trying to shake the answers out of him. He has 3 chakra pathways and 6 times the number of tenketsu points inside of his body, spoke Hiyashi, getting surprised looks from everyone around him, though he couldn't blame them. This was amazing to say the least. Explain, spoke Kushina, being the less educated in the medical arts out of the 3 girls, though that wasn't to say that she didn't know what was going on entirely. As you know, there is a path in which all chakra flows, and the tenketsu are like places that manipulate chakra and allow us to better control our chakra. Naruto has 3 of these paths coming from his core that spread out through his body in a much more complex web than other people's chakra network. He also has 6 times the number of tenketsu points, which is why he has such great chakra control. he is genetically superior to others is the best way I can describe it, spoke Hiyashi, thinking about what he had seen. He could only guess that the Senju Uzumaki genes had somehow mutated due to the Nine Tails influence, and this was the result. He wished greatly that all Hyuga had this type of chakra system in them. Learning and advancing the gentle fist would be so much easier this way. After that, Hiyashi and Tsunade along with the other girls continued to discuss what had happened until Hiyashi left, though even then the girls continued to talk about what had happened. Naruto quickly got bored and started to play on top of a large pond out behind their house, watching as fish swam up to the top of the water to eat the worms and bugs that he was throwing to them that he had found earlier. What should we do, Tsunade? If what Hiyashi said is correct, then chakra control should be a breeze for him, and with Kushina's chakra materialization bloodline limit shape manipulation should be a breeze as well, spoke Shizune, just trying to imagine a way for Naruto to train that wasn't exceedingly easy for him. He would be naturally gifted in all ninja arts because of his heritage, his chakra control would be a breeze, and he was naturally strong and energetic, so there really wasn't a field in which Naruto should have any real difficulties, besides possibly advanced genjutsu. We are going to focus on the basics, spoke Tsunade, whose brain was on autopilot again. We will teach him all of the chakra control exercises that we know, all of the shape manipulation exercises that we know, how to convert chakra into medical chakra, and then we will fill his brain with facts. That means we will teach him anatomy, algebra, anything he will need to know to become a medical ninja, while he will also need to learn everything from basic math, science, history, geology, to the high learning areas so that he will not miss anything. We will also need to drill things like chakra theory into his head so he will know more about what chakra is instead of just how to shape it, spoke Tsunade as she pulled out a piece of paper and looked at it. Once he has mastered shape manipulation and chakra control, I will teach him my strength of 100 seal. That way he will be able to manifest it before he even graduates from the academy, and it will not get in the way later on, spoke Tsunade as she put the paper back in her pocket. The thing we must make sure of is that we don't tell anyone of his skills. The other villages will not hesitate to innate him if they found out that he is a genius, spoke Tsunade with some hesitance in her voice. We should also teach him things like how to make poisons, and we should also start building up his immunity to poisons. I know that Suna is the ones who usually use poisons, though Kiri is a close second, but this is the ninja world and anything can happen, spoke Shizune, already plotting out a schedule in her brain on how to strengthen Naruto to poisons as much as possible without making him too sick most of the time. We can't forget Shuriken Jutsu either. It is a basic shinobi skill, and the sooner he learns how to use kunai, shuriken, and senbon the better. It will also help him with his anatomy and vice versa, spoke Kushina, already thinking of ways to help Naruto get stronger without pushing him too hard. He already had so much on his plate, and learning the mental stuff with all that energy was hard. She knew that for a fact, so she knew that they would have to go easy on him a bit. Alright, we all know what we need to do, and since Shuriken Jutsu will help Naruto physically without putting too much strain on his body, we can begin teaching him that as soon as possible as well. Shizune, you had better use only the weakest of poisons on Naru-chan until he has a good immunity, or else, and I will stick with his chakra control and shape manipulation. The rest of the stuff we will alternate doing, as he will probably end up hating whoever it is that would be forced to teach him all of that by themselves, spoke Tsunade, knowing how being still was the last thing that Naruto would ever have on his mind. Even as a small baby, his legs never stopped kicking and his arms never stopped flailing around. Yes, ma'am, spoke Shizune as she gave a salute to Tsunade with a grin on her face. You can count on us, spoke Kushina as she mimicked Shizune with a grin of her own. Why do I keep you two around? Spoke Tsunade with a sigh as she facepalmed herself. Naruto had been playing keep away from the fish. He would feed them some bread or worms that he had found and then run away as the fish were eating to the other side of the pond. It wouldn't take long for splashing to start happening and then moment under the water to start coming in his direction. It was a lot of fun, and Naruto was sure that he could catch his own fish if he was fast enough, but he found playing with the fish much more fun than killing and eating them. "There you are, Naru-chan," came from behind Naruto. He looked back and saw his mother and two sister figures looking at him from the bank, which caused him to smile. "Are you guys all done talking?" asked Naruto with a happy tone. Finally they would start teaching him something cool like they had yesterday. He knew that something weird had happened by the way they had reacted, but his short attention hadn't allowed him to ponder that avenue and went straight to something else that was more fun. "Yes, Naru-chan, we are done gossiping about you, so hurry up and come over here so we can start your training," spoke Kushina with a smile on her face. She watched him dump what looked like a bucket of bugs into the water where the fish went crazy on them and then run towards them. "Cool. So what will you guys be teaching me?" asked Naruto, hoping it was something cool like how to heal cuts and bruises like he had seen his mother do when he was younger and followed her around the hospital. Naruto had never been a patient in a hospital. His mother told him that he healed too fast for that, and after some of the things that he had seen, he was very happy about that. Tsunade, Kushina, and Shizune were all very lucky that Naruto had never seen something like a fire jutsu before, or else they would never have been able to wrangle in his attention. "Yes, Kushina-chan will teach you shuriken jutsu, Shizune-chan will teach you about poisons, and I will keep teaching you chakra control as well as shape manipulation. We are also going to have to start improving you educations," spoke Tsunade, seeing how happy Naruto was, until that last bit. Naruto hated to sit down and learn, but Tsunade had an idea on how to fix that. "Don't worry, Naruto, we are also going to teach you how to be stealth like real ninja, as well as how to use those weak, but useful academy jutsu, but only if you are good. Let's just say that learning jutsu is a type of reward for doing a good job," spoke Shizune with a smile on her face. She knew just how to get Naruto's attention without using force. "Yay, and if you are really good I will teach you my super strength technique will make you so strong you could break a mountain with your bare fists," spoke Tsunade, hoping to get Naruto really excited and malleable for his future education. "Yes," shouted Naruto, causing everyone in Konoha to hear him shouting. Naruto had grown a lot in the past 3 years. His body had gotten more muscular and well-defined, while his body got bigger. His body had a streamlined look to it, which many of the girls who were starting to get interested in boys thought was very cute, and the clothes his mother and sisters bought for him really showed off what he was packing. The markings on Naruto's face had become a bit more defined and had darkened as well. The markings were no longer a light green but more of a light forest green, but there was still only 2 on each cheek and none on his chin, something Naruto was thankful for. Naruto's hair was still the shiny golden color it had been when he was a kid, but now it jutted out in weird directions like his great-granduncle Tobirama Senju's hair did. His eyes were still a handsome sky blue color, but now there were dark speckles inside of them that gave them a mystifying attribute as well. Naruto's outfit had changed a bit as well. He now wore dark forest green cargo shorts that had lots of pockets on them. His shirt was a black muscle shirt with mesh armor underneath that looked pretty cool. On the back of his shirt was the Senju marking with the symbol of the Uzumaki right in the center of it. Naruto liked his family's clan symbols, but if he only got to choose one he would have chosen the Uzumaki swirl. It was just simpler than that weird symbol the Senju used. Around his neck was a silver necklace with a round blue stone at the end of it. It had been Tobirama's, but it wasn't as famous as Hashirama's necklace that Tsunade wore. Naruto's sandals were normal, though they were black, and he wore bandages wrapping around his legs that disappeared into his shorts and sandals. All in all, Naruto had become a very handsome young man, but that didn't matter much to Naruto, because today was a very special day in Naruto's opinion. He had recently turned 8 years old, and that meant he was old enough to enter the academy, something that he had been looking forward to doing for some time now. His mother had told him that it was boring, pointless, and would only slow him down, as did his two sisters, but Naruto didn't care. It was more about making friends in Naruto's opinion, since he wasn't allowed to leave the Senju clan compound without his mother, Shizune, or Kushina latching onto him. He wanted to make some real friends, not those bratty kids that always were with the parents that tried to flag his sisters and mother down to talk. Naruto found out that they were what was known as gold diggers, and that he should stay away from them by his mother, but Naruto didn't need to be told that, he could just feel the dishonesty in them. "Hey mom, hurry up. We're going to be late," shouted Naruto as he walked down the wooden hallways of the Senju clan compound looking for his mother. She could be elusive if she wanted to be, but Naruto was a natural sensor, and it had been one of the things that his mother had focused on when training, though his skills were not as good now because of him having to focus his chakra into his forehead to try and develop his mother's seal, but nonetheless he could still feel the basics of what was around him. "Since when did you start rushing me, young man?" came a voice from around the corner. Her voice wasn't angry or anything like that, and it even had some playfulness in it, but Naruto had seen what his mother was capable of when he was younger. While they were out in the market, some weird guy had tried to hit on her and she punched him through a wall. After that, Naruto knew that his mother was truly a woman to be feared. When Naruto turned the corner, he saw his mother all dressed up in her favorite green outfit that showed the world how much she used to gamble. Naruto wanted to sigh knowing his mother's antics, but he was happy that she had given up gambling, especially after Shizune told him about how terrible she was at it, and how they had been chased out of more than one country for her bad habits. Naruto knew now that he would have to fix the damage his mother had caused both to their reputation and financially, but they were ninja, so he didn't have to do it all the mundane way. "Hey mom, you look really beautiful," spoke Naruto with a big smile on his face. When Tsunade had turned around and saw her baby boy, her heart lightened a bit. She loved that boy more than anything else in this world, and thanked God every day for giving her the idea to get the artificial insemination done. She had no idea what her life would be like if she hadn't done such a thing. "Why, thank you, Naru-chan. You're looking handsome yourself, trying to start picking up girls to help restore the Senju clan," spoke Tsunade with a grin on her face. It was so much fun watching Naruto start to blush and stutter when she brought up him repopulating the Senju clan. He was so innocent in her eyes, and she loved to mess with him for it. "Mom, don't ember me," spoke Naruto as his face started to turn red. He had been told when he had turned 8 years old that he would have to repopulate the Senju clan with his own genes when the time came. With all of the medical knowledge that he'd been pounded into him from such an early age, Naruto knew what that had meant, and honestly it was more than a little shock to his system. The thought of having a harem was not a bad idea in Naruto's mind. Even though he was young, he still did have a healthy appreciating for the female body, but oddly enough he had always found himself comparing other women to his mother, Kushina, and Shizune, and had almost always found that all women were inferior to them after doing so. Naruto wondered if he was one of those guys with a family complex, but he was young and soon forgot about it. There were also the benefits of having multiple women in his lives. They would never have to worry about a babysitter since there was no way he could take them all out on dates at the same time. There was the fact that their relationship would never get boring because of how intricate it was. If the women were unique, they would bring that uniqueness into the clan, be in jutsu or techniques that they had invented, hair color, skills, etc., which would help future generations. "Ah, don't worry, Naru-chan, I won't ember you. I will just tell everyone we see how cute you were when you were still my little baby who loved to hold onto mommy's boobies," spoke Tsunade as she pulled Naruto into a big hug and smashed his face against her bust. She found it so cute how he would start to flush from emberment when she would do things like this now. Ever since he had been told he would have to restart the Senju clan, he had been much more reserved when it came to close intimate contact with women's lady parts. Tsunade loved to take advantage of that so much. When Shizune walked into the room and saw a red-faced Naruto being hugged by Lady Tsunade, she already knew what was going on, but today just wasn't the day for all of that. They had to get to the academy soon or Naruto would miss getting to see all of the other students talking and playing at the entrance of the academy. She knew that this was the time that most of the academy students made friends and she wanted Naruto to make as many lifetime friends that he could. Lady Tsunade, please stop teasing Naru-chan and get moving. We don't want him to be late on his first day now, do we? Spoke Shizune as she pulled Naruto out of Tsunade's hands. Naruto thought he was safe until Shizune leaned down and pulled Naruto into her double D breasts, basically smothering him. He needs to make friends his own age, not just us, continued Shizune, like what she was doing was different than what Tsunade had been doing. She saw the look of jealousy when she saw Tsunade's face and decided to stop messing with her. My Naru-chan doesn't need to go to the academy, and I don't see why you and Kushina think he does. He is plenty strong enough to graduate whenever he wants, and I think he should stay here in the Senju compound until he is old enough to graduate normally, so that I can keep training him like I have been for the last 3 years, spoke Tsunade as she crossed her arms underneath her impressive bust, causing it to jiggle. She didn't notice the look on Naruto's face when he saw this, much to Naruto's relief, and went on pouting like a small child who hadn't gotten her way. We know Naru-chan is strong, but he also needs to learn to communicate with people his own age. If we keep him locked up in here, then he will become unable to understand other people, and he definitely won't be able to make any friends. Worst of all, he won't be able to meet any girls to help revive the Senju clan. That is the main point after all, spoke Shizune, already knowing what this was really about. Tsunade had found it funny when they told Naruto that he was going to have multiple wives, but as the years dragged on it seemed that she was more and more against the idea, until the point where she was completely against the idea of Naruto ever meeting a woman. If Shizune didn't know any better, she would assume that Tsunade wanted Naruto all to herself in more ways than one, but she was sure that wasn't the case. HMPH, that is such a stupid reason. Plus, the day Naruto was born, I received no less than 100 marriage requests from ladies, princesses, and even priestess wishing to become a part of Naruto's harem, so there is no shortage in suitable women for him to settle down with, spoke Tsunade with some heat in her tone. She had been far from happy when all of those damned marriage requests had come pouring into her clan's compound the day that Naruto had been born. She had ripped them all up, as she wasn't about to give her baby away to any hussies, regardless of their noble births. Kushina had heard all of the commotion and walked up to the door that it was all coming from to listen in. She knew what they were arguing about, and honestly she didn't know why Tsunade kept on trying to resist the fact that Naruto was growing up. Even she had a hard time knowing that one day her little Naru-chan wouldn't be so little anymore and that he wouldn't want to spend as much time with her as they had when she was teaching him how to become a cool ninja like he always talked about. As she listened in, she got a great idea to mess with everyone in the room, so she slowly opened the door as to not be noticed by anyone and walked on in. When Tsunade started to talk about marriage and children, Kushina decided to let her presence be known. I completely agree with Tsunade. There are plenty of eligible candidates out there that would be perfect for Naru-chan, spoke Kushina with a devious grin on her face. Tsunade's eyes narrowed when she saw that grin and the tone in Kushina's voice, knowing of the Uzumaki's legendary prankster reputation. Naruto just sighed, knowing that the conversation had changed once again to something that didn't even matter right now. Shizune's eyes narrowed as well, but for some reason in her heart she felt like this was a test, or maybe a beginning. She had always felt that the relationship they all felt with one another was slowly changing, and that this might be the revealing moment of something deeper that they had all ignored. Yes, you see, Shizune, There are plenty of women out there that would be able to give Naru-chan strong ninja children, spoke Tsunade, keeping an eye on Kushina, whose grin only seemed to increase after every word she said. She could feel something that was going to get her all angry about to happen. Of course, I am here, aren't I? With me here, then we will never have to worry about Naru-chan having strong children, because our children will always be the strongest, spoke Kushina as she pulled Naruto out of Shizune's embrace and into her own double E-cup breasts that started to smother a red-faced Naruto. She loved that innocent look on his face, and in the back of her mind she wanted to corrupt him into something even dirtier. What? You will not lay even one single finger on my Naru-chan, shouted Tsunade as she jumped out of her chair, knocking over the table that she had been sitting against. As the table hit the ground, only the grinning face of Kushina was present, along with the shocked face of Shizune, the rage-induced face of Tsunade, and the embered look on Naruto's face. Oh, and why not? I am from a powerful clan that would surely give Naruto very strong children. I have tons of life force, so giving birth to any number of children that he would want isn't a problem, plus I am a strong and feared kunoichi all around the world. As far as I can see, I am the perfect woman for Naruto to have in his life, spoke Kushina, her voice oddly held a hint of anger to it. Either Tsunade didn't notice this, or she simply didn't care, but one thing was for sure: she wasn't about to lose her baby to this red-headed temptress. Ha! You feared. I have had platoons of ninja running away once they heard my name. You're nothing but a second-rate kunoichi when compared to me, spoke Tsunade as she walked up to Kushina and shoved her larger bust into Kushina's large bust, causing the woman to give Tsunade an annoyed look. And I am much more endowed than you could ever hope to be, spoke Tsunade, knowing that usually ended all arguments that any woman had ever had with her. It seemed that bust sizes were like badges of honor to women that they showed off, but for some reason got mad when a man commented on them. Kushina was mad, no doubt about it, but she was clever as well. She knew how to get back at Tsunade for sure. Wow, that is a bold statement there, Tsunade. It almost sounds like you're saying that the only woman good enough for Naruto, as you, spoke Kushina with a grin on her face. It also sounds like you're getting jealous even though you're his mother. What, do you have some kind of thing for your own son? Asked Kushina with a strained smile on her face as her hair started to flail around behind her, causing it to look like 9 red tails moving all about. Tsunade was shocked and angry all at the same time. Her face contorted into one of anger as a blood vessel bulged out on her forehead. It was taking all of her restraint not to knock Kushina out with one of her famous super punches, but she knew that resorting to violence would basically mean she was admitting defeat. Look at this. Never would have expected the supposed princess of the land of whirlpools, and the last of the illustrious Uzumaki clan, to have a thing for children. Maybe I should call the Anbu and have them arrest you for attempted pedophilia, spoke Tsunade, though the bulge was still visible on her forehead, and her face was still contorted into one of anger. Kushina's hair started to flail about even more than usual at such an insult, but the sickly sweet smile never left her face. Well, at least. But before Kushina could say anything, a red-faced Shizune cut across her, knowing that this wasn't going to end well for anyone if she let it continue like this. I want you two to know that Naruto went on ahead to the academy. He didn't want to be late, and he was having a hard time not ping out from having his face smothered by your large chest areas, spoke Shizune, knowing that this would snap them out of their pointless bickering very quickly, though that didn't mean she didn't want in on the argument as well. What? Shouted Kushina and Tsunade as they turned around to look at Shizune with shocked looks on their faces. When they started to look around, they saw that it was true that Naruto wasn't in the room anymore, so he must have left without them. The village was going through a rough time with the destruction that the 9-tailed fox caused and the shortages the Third Great Shinobi World War had caused as well, but even still the people were happy, the children were running around laughing, and the businesses were booming. All in all, life in the Leaf was pretty good. Naruto had left his house knowing that his mom and his sisters could argue for hours on end and he didn't want to be late for his first day, so he kind of ducked out when nobody was looking. It really wasn't that hard since when his mom and sisters argued they zoned in on the other person and nothing short of the Hokage yelling at them could get them to stop until they were done arguing about whatever it is that they were arguing about. Naruto shook his head a bit when he thought about his mother and sisters fighting. They really knew how to fight amongst themselves, and on more than one occasion he had to train himself while they argued about what was the best way to train him. It was kind of ironic, really. "Hey look, it's a mutt," came a high-pitched voice that was obviously from a kid. "Shut up, he isn't a mutt, you jerk," came another voice from one of the alleyways that the first voice came from, though this one was a bit deeper than the other one. "He was talking about you, dog boy," came a sneering voice in the same area as the first two voices that sounded like he was trying to breathe through his nose while he talked. "I'll kick your butt," came that same voice, which Naruto was starting to think was some kid on his own. "Ha, I would like to see you try," came a fourth voice from below. "Let's get this over with. I'm tired of messing with this first-year wannabe, so let's teach him a lesson and get back to the academy," came a voice that sounded older than the other ones before a course of agreements followed it. Down in the Allies, today had seemed like it would be a good day for Kiba when he woke up. His sister didn't make fun of him and his mother had made his favorite breakfast, which was basically a wide assortment of meats that he absolutely loved. His mother was going to walk him to school, but some of the dogs got into a fight over territory and Kiba wasn't interested in letting his sister walk him to the academy as she would surely do something to ember him, so he had ducked out when she went to go check on the animals in their clinic. Kiba wore blue ninja sandals on his feet with no bandages wrapped around his legs like many others did. His skin tone was tan from being outside so much, and he wore a tanned long-sleeved shirt on top of mesh armor. His shorts were a faded gray color that had two large pockets under the normal pockets on the sides of his pants. He had two marking of his clan on his cheeks and had black eyes that were in the form of slits. His hair was a light brown color that jutted out in every direction, wrapping up the overall feral look he seemed to be aiming for. Kiba had been shocked when one of the dogs decided to follow him to the academy since none of the dogs had bonded with him yet. It was a focus point of his sister Hannah's jokes, especially about his smell, saying things like not even the dogs want to be around him because of his rank. Kiba had always gotten mad because he did take good showers so that he wouldn't smell bad. He had happily allowed the dog to take him, which was about up to his chest area, though that wasn't any surprise being Kiba was only 8, but if anyone didn't know, the dogs of the Inuzuka clan got huge, even bigger than normal people, so it was safe to say that this dog was still young. He had run down the streets of Konoha after he left his clan's district and went straight for the academy to go see all of the potential rivals that he would have for the next 4 years. He had cut through the back alleyways to get there faster, but had run into Ryuju and his band of misfits who were in their 3rd years and Ryuju being in his final year. Ryuju and his gang hadn't taken too kindly to Kiba running into them and had knocked him against the wall, with the dog being the only reason they hadn't advanced on him yet. There were 4 of them and only Kiba, who had only just started his ninja training, and the young ninja dog that was acting as his guard, so he wasn't looking too good right now. Well, if it isn't Kiba Inuzuka. I heard you were starting this year, but I never believed it. Who would let a runt like this in the academy is beyond me, spoke Ryuju as he advanced on Kiba, who was backed up against a wall with a worried look on his face. Hey, you better shut up, I am not no runt, I am an alpha, shouted Kiba as he puffed up his small chest to exert his dominance, but they just laughed at his petty attempts at showcasing. Look at this little brat, he has a dog's brain, spoke one of the members of Ryuju's gang as he pointed at Kiba and began to laugh at him along with the rest of the gang. Shut up, and stop insulting me and my clan, shouted Kiba, feeling his anger getting the better of him. He was brash as hell, there was no denying that, but even he knew when he was outmatched. Or what will you do, dog? Breathe. Gonna bite me to death or something? asked another one of the members as he started to make some motions like a dog chewing on his arm before laughing again. Kiba was only a kid and being bullied like that really hurt him deep inside. Tears started to form in his eyes, and there was no doubt that Ryuju and his gang were going to take advantage of that. Look boys, he is about to start crying. What a cat. Gonna go home to mama and cry a river of crocodile tears, huh putty cat, laughed Ryuju as he pointed at Kiba and laughed so hard he nearly fell to the ground. By now Kiba was having to fight back the tears as he was surrounded by these bullies and forced to listen to them as they insulted him and what he stood for. He wasn't going to have this, so he closed his eyes and ran forward, hell-bent on teaching them a lesson. Ah! Shouted Kiba as he charged forward and took a swipe at one of the boys, cutting into their arms, though there was little damage since Kiba's nails were not very long or sharp yet. He quickly turned around and delivered a punch to Ryuju's surprised face and tried to hit him again before he was blindsided by another boy and knocked to the ground. When he was on the ground, another boy kicked him in the head, dazing him. Off to the side, two of the boys were keeping the ninja dog occupied so it couldn't help Kiba. You little bastard, spoke Ryuju as he reached up and felt under his nose. When he lifted his hand up and saw red on the ends of his fingertips, he knew that Kiba had busted his nose, and he couldn't let word that a first year had harmed him or he would be the laughing stock of the academy. What should we do with him, Ryuju? Asked another one of Ryuju's cronies as he held Kiba down so that the boy couldn't get back up to defend himself. I am going to turn this little brat black and blue, and if he ever breathes a word about busting my nose I will skin him alive, spoke Ryuju as he knelt down and started to wail on Kiba's back and head with heavy punches. Up above on the roof, Naruto watched what had happened and was appalled at the sight of four older kids beating up another kid just because he had accidentally bumped into them. Naruto really didn't want to get into any trouble, and he really didn't want to be late for his first day at CL, but he couldn't leave this kid to get his handed to him like this. It would ruin his time at the academy, and if he was looking forward to it like Naruto was, then it would be a complete bust for him if this were to continue. Naruto took a deep breath before jumping off of the roof and down into the fray. He felt it odd that none of the other students had decided to use wall walking to get to school, but figured they wanted to savor the moment and had gone slow to get to the academy. Down in the allies, Ryuju had already hit Kiba 5 times when a hand caught his own. Ryuju was going to beat the crap out of anyone who was trying to stop him, but was shocked when another hand grabbed him by his belt and picked him up only to slam him back on the ground in some strange reverse slam attack. Ryuju's gang was shocked when they saw a blonde-haired boy just suddenly appear from the sky. They were even more shocked at how fast he moved, leaving them no time to tell their boss of the threat. They almost wet themselves when they saw how strong the boy was when he slammed Ryuju into the ground behind him. Hey, you guys should stop all of this bullying stuff or we are going to be late for our first day, spoke Naruto like these 4 boys actually cared about the academy. Ryuju had already failed twice, which left him bigger and stronger than the other kids, but now that didn't seem to be working to his advantage. I don't know who you are, but if you attack the boss then you attack the gang. Let's teach this brat what happens when you cross us, shouted one of them as he and the other 3 lackeys charged Naruto. Kiba was in pain as his back was surely bruised from the beating he had taken, but that didn't mean he hadn't seen what the blonde-haired boy had done to Ryuju, which had really shocked him. He hadn't thought that anyone their age would be able to take him on alone, yet this kid seemed to be able to do it with ease. When Kiba saw the other group start to attack Naruto as a group, he tried to get up, he really did, but his arms started to shake, causing him to fall onto the ground completely useless. He was going to shout at the kid to run away and save himself, but to his shock the blonde kid didn't even seem worried about them. Naruto remembered what his mother had told him when he was a bit younger. She had said that he was stronger than other kids his age and many who were much older, calling him a natural genius, but with the skill came responsibility. He was supposed to know how to control his power and not hurt his allies even if they were giving him a hard time. Naruto had never really thought about that until now. When he had slammed that big kid so easily, he realized that maybe his mother had been right about him being too strong to naturally fight kids his age and maybe a bit older, so when he saw the oncoming group he realized that he would have to actively hold back when fighting them. The first boy was a heavy-set boy with black hair and large hands who tried to tackle Naruto head-on. Naruto had been trained at a young age by his mother in medical ninjutsu and taijutsu, so he knew that punching larger people in the stomach area was not that effective, but there was one place on the human body that fat didn't accumulate much around it even though it was vital to the human survival process. Naruto used this knowledge to charge head-on towards the large boy and jumped up into the air before delivering a powerful knee attack to the boy's forehead, busting his forehead open and knocking the large boy to the ground. Naruto watched for a moment as the big boy hit the ground and realized he wasn't getting back up, so he focused on dealing with the other three boys. The next boy was rather lanky with not much fat or muscle on his body, giving him a sort of praying mantis look that creeped Naruto out a bit. He threw a sloppy punch at Naruto's head, but Naruto easily caught the punch and threw it to the side. This caused the boy to get thrown off balance, leaving him open for Naruto's powerful right straight to his solar plexus. The boy dropped like a rock right before he threw up his lunch and ped out from the pain. The last two were short and much closer to Naruto's size when compared to the first three. They attacked in unison side by side, but that didn't worry Naruto at all, as all he did was jump up into the air and delivered a spin kick that caught both of the boys at the same time. Neither of the boys had even seen it coming and were laid out before they realized that they had even been hit. Kiba looked on at this kid with wide eyes as he tried to process what just happened. All he knew was this kid came out of nowhere, beat the crap out of the biggest bully in their school, and then beat up that bully's gang like it wasn't anything to him. The kid didn't even get a scratch on him and his breathing didn't change either. Naruto looked around and saw the big kid who was punching the boy with the dog lying on top of his shoulders and head where he got slammed in the middle of the alley. The heavy-set kid was off to the side next to a large dumpster. The lanky kid was laying on top of some trash bags, and the smaller duo were ped out with one of them sleeping on top of the other one, though they were all bleeding. Man, mom is going to wring my neck if she finds out about this, thought Naruto as he weaved a few hand signs and applied medical ninjutsu to the first boy that he had beaten up. Maybe if I fix them up enough to where they can move under their own power, she won't wring my neck. Kiba sat up and leaned against a wall in the alleyway and kept his eyes on the blonde-haired boy. His clan's ninja dog was beside him looking around for any other potential danger, though Kiba was sure he was keeping an eye on the blonde-haired boy in case he tried something as well. Kiba was confused when he saw the boy's hand start to glow green, and even more so when he saw the boy touch the green hand to Ryuju. He watched as Ryuju's body started to glow a faint green as well, before the cut on top of his head began to heal, leaving only a small white scar. Kiba was shocked when he saw this. Really, this kid was going to give Kiba nerve damage if he kept shocking him like this. Kiba knew what this was since his sister was a vet and talked about it from time to time during dinner. This is medical ninjutsu, but how does a kid my age know how to use it? Hannah said that it was extremely difficult, requiring perfect chakra control and many years of training to utilize medical ninjutsu, so how can this kid who is no older than me do it? Wondered Kiba as he continued to watch the blonde-haired boy. Has he been receiving special training or something? When Naruto got done healing the older-looking one, he moved on and healed the cut on the fat one's forehead, then healed the damage to the lanky boy's stomach, and then healed the smaller two's busted jaws that he had dislocate from his weak spin kid. I really am going to have to watch myself. I can't believe how fragile they were, thought Naruto as he looked around before his eyes landed on Kiba, who was staring at him with the big dog with sharp teeth. I need to heal him before I can get to CL. Oh, I need to hurry or I am going to be late, for a very important date, Alice in Wonderland, The White Rabbit. Kiba saw the blonde kid's eyes land on him and he got a bit nervous. He was surprised when he started to walk towards him and was happy his ninja dog was there to at least give the boy reason to watch himself around him. Whoa, easy there killer, I just want to heal your friend so I can hurry up and get to the opening ceremony, spoke Naruto as he raised his hands submissively to the large dog who was eyeing him like a snack. Akuya, calm down, he is using medical ninjutsu so maybe he can help me out. I don't feel like explaining to mom how I got my butt handed to me or she will really put me through the ringer, spoke Kiba as he started to pet the ninja dog. The ninja dog looked at Kiba and nodded its head a bit before backing off to let Naruto heal Kiba. Naruto started to apply medical ninjutsu to Kiba's body, and decided to make conversation while he waited. So you're going to the academy as well, what year are you in? Spoke Naruto with a smile on his face that seemed to brighten up the alleyway. Kiba was shocked that someone this strong was going to the academy, but decided to answer him anyways. Yay! This is my first year, and you? Asked Kiba, wondering if the boy really was as young as he looked. Yay, this is my first year as well. I was supposed to come here with my mom, but her and my two sisters started to get into some weird arguments so I just slipped out the back not wanting to be late, but then I ran into you and will probably end up being late anyways, spoke Naruto with anime tears in his eyes even while he was healing Kiba. Kiba looked at the kid like he was an idiot, but wasn't stupid enough to point that out. Why are you going to the academy anyways? You have to be at least Chunin in strength, so why go to the academy at all? Spoke Kiba, thinking if he was that strong he wouldn't go to the academy and jump straight into some more advanced stuff. Well, my mom says that geniuses who skip grades and end up in the shinobi forces to quickly always get scared for life because they see something that they were not ready for, leaving them unable to remain ninja, spoke Naruto, remembering the argument his mom and some man in an animal mask had one day. I don't really get it all that much, but all I really want to do is make some friends, and my sis Shizune said that the perfect place to do that was the academy, so I don't mind going even if I know some of the stuff already. Wait, you don't have any friends either? Spoke Kiba, surprised that someone as cool as this guy didn't have lackeys hanging off of him left and right. That is a bit surprising. Well, I haven't been allowed to leave my clan's compound very much because of my mom, so I haven't been able to make any friends my own age, spoke Naruto with a bit of a depressed tone. Really, all I have ever done was hang out with my mom and sisters, or train, which is always fun to do. That is why I am so excited to go to the academy. Kiba nodded his head, understanding where Naruto was coming from. Yeah, I know what you mean. My mom is way too up in my business for it to be normal. All she wants me to do is do chores or get in touch with my inner animal, and yet she won't even tell me what I am supposed to do, ranted Kiba. Remember all of the crap his mother had said. I mean, how am I supposed to do that when I don't even know what that is? Naruto nodded his head, seeing how that could be a problem. Well, it seems we both have some troublesome mothers, don't we? Spoke Naruto with a smile on his face as he stuck his hand out for Kiba to shake. My name is Naruto, and yours is? Oh yay, sorry I didn't introduce myself before. My name is Kiba Inuzuka, a member of the Inuzuka clan and a first year at the Leaf Academy, spoke Kiba with a smile on his face. I am going to be the rookie of the year and I don't care how much training you already have. Naruto nodded his head as he and Kiba began to walk towards the academy together as they talked. What is a rookie of the year? I don't get what it is supposed to be, spoke Naruto as he scratched his head, feeling he was missing something that should be important to him but wasn't. Kiba looked over at Naruto with a shocked look on his face, not understanding how Naruto didn't know of the Rookie of the Year award. The Rookie of the Year award is an award that they give to one student in each of the years, proving that he was the best of that year compared to his peers. It basically means you are the best in your CL, finished Kiba with a grin on his face, expecting Naruto to challenge him to the award or something like that. Oh, that sounds interesting, but I don't really care about getting awards. I just want to have a good time is all, spoke Naruto with a smile on his face as he enjoyed talking to someone his own age for once. He loved his family, but sometimes you need a change of pace, you know. What? How can you say that? With your skills you could easily win the awards hands down. Well, that is until I really start to get into my training, spoke Kiba as he puffed up his chest again. He didn't even notice that the ninja dog that was with him was now gone. Maybe, but what would be the point? All awards are as pieces of paper with some abnormal writing on them that only catch dust over time, spoke Naruto, starting to bum Kiba out with his lack of interest in something that Kiba had thought was cool, until he started to talk to Naruto about it. Dude, how can you say that? Spoke an exasperated Kiba as he looked at Naruto trying to figure him out. He didn't even notice all of the strange looks they were getting, or more specifically Naruto was getting. Well, that's what my mom says. She got a bunch of awards for her skills with medical ninjutsu, but she says she has never used them since she got them and hasn't thought about them since. She says they're nice to have, but pointless in the end, spoke Naruto as he looked up at the blue sky and felt the cool breeze brush against his skin. He really was enjoying today. UHGG, you're impossible, spoke Kiba as he dropped his head in defeat. Ha ha ha, laughed Naruto seeing Kiba in such a weird light. A fair deal away. Tsume Inuzuka had been looking for her son for the past 5 minutes, but it was like he was trying to avoid detection as his scent ran through all the back allies he could find, and many of them were covered in other foul scents that masked Kiba's original scent and were disgusting to Tsume's sensitive sense of smell. Tsume has an animalistic look similar to that of her son Kiba. She has long, spiky, untamed brown hair, vertical slit-like pupils, elongated canine teeth and nails. She also has the clan fang markings on her cheeks as well as markings over her eyes and a dark shade of purple lipstick. She wears the standard outfit of a Konoha shinobi consisting of flak jacket and a black suit underneath with the sleeves rolled up and bandages around her legs. Damn, I swear that kid is a handful, spoke Tsume as she continued to walk through the village looking for her son. She was starting to figure she should just go to the academy and wait for him there, but she was worried Kiba would get himself into trouble like always. Kuromaru is an adult canine with a wolfish appearance. As his name suggests, he has black fur with a white underside. He is missing his left ear, and wears an eye patch over his right eye. He was easily as tall as any teenager around. He is a handful, but maybe something good will come out of it, growled out Kuromaru as he walked beside his master and sniffed the air looking for his master's pup. He knew that pup since he was a newborn pup, and so he knew the boy's scent better than anyone, except maybe Tsume herself. Ha, doubt it, spoke Tsume as she continued to look around for her son when she saw one of the ninja dogs from her clan's compound coming running towards them. Well, if it isn't Akuya. What are you doing here? Lady Tsume, you will never believe what I just saw, spoke Akuya as she looked up at the leader of their pack. She bowed a bit in respects to Kuromaru, showing that she knew he was still the dominant ninja dog of their clan. Does this have something to do about Kiba? Spoke Tsume, all of a sudden getting worried about her accident-prone son. She wanted to just wrap the little idiot up in bubble wrap, but she knew he still would have found some way to hurt himself. Yes, it seems you were right, he did get into trouble and things were not looking good for him for a while there, spoke Akuya, but before she could finish Kuromaru cut across her with his own question. Why did you not protect him then? It was your job to make sure he didn't get too badly injured, spoke Kuromaru as he looked over at the smaller ninja dog that had what appeared to be a disgruntled look on her dog face. Kiba had run into a group of bullies a few years older than him who ganged up on him for running into their leader. I couldn't attack them unless they did some real damage, spoke Akuya, looking Kuromaru straight in the eye so that he could see how angry she was at his poor accusations of her guarding skills. Alright, enough of that, you two. Akuya, tell me what happened, demanded Tsume as she looked down on Akuya, waiting for her to start spilling the beans on the condition her son was in. Well, they attacked him and were beating him up, but right before I went to attack, another boy arrived that was Kiba's age and defeated all four of the older boys all by himself, spoke Akuya, getting a look of surprise from Sume and Kuromaru which gave her some smug satisfaction. Wait, so you're telling me that a boy Kiba's age defeated 5 other boys that were older and more skilled than him, spoke Sume as she sat down on a bench on the side of the street. It wasn't uncommon to see an Inuzuka talking to their ninja dogs, so nobody but a few children paid her and her conversation any mind. Well, they were older, but obviously far from as skilled. He defeated them all with one attack each, leaving them bleeding and unconscious on the ground before healing them, and Kiba, spoke Akuya as she sat on her butt, feeling it was less energy taxing and more comfortable as well. The pup must be very skilled if he was able to take on a small pack of older boys alone, spoke Kuromaru as he looked from Akuya to Sume, who had a strange look in her eyes. You said the boy healed the boys he defeated, and Kiba. What do you mean he just bandaged them up and went for help? Asked Sume, figuring the boy may have performed some basic first aid before looking for someone who was more skilled in the healing arts to take a look at the kids he beat up. No. That was the amazing part. The boy actually used medical ninjutsu like Hana-sama, but for you humans instead of us dogs, spoke Akuya in what Sume perceived was excitement. Sume was shocked to say the least, knowing just how hard Hana had to work just to get her skill to the level they were at now, and even that wasn't some great feat. For a child to be able to use it who was more than likely 6 to 10 years old was nothing short of amazing. She was getting more and more curious about this mystery boy by the moment. The pup really is something if he is already that strong at such a young age, spoke Kuromaru with a grin, revealing his long canines. I wanna meet this little super genius and see if he lives up to the hype. Kuromaru, you don't need to go about scarring children, spoke Sume as she looked off into the distance with a strange look on her face. Strong, the same age as Kiba, skilled in medical ninjutsu, could he be her son? I have been hearing so much about, wondered Sume as she was brought out of her thoughts by Akuya. He really was amazing, and the best part is I think Kiba may have made his first friend, spoke Akuya, but then she said, and don't worry, he isn't following the boy around like a lost puppy if that was what you were thinking. Kuromaru nodded his head, happy that Kiba wasn't letting someone else lead him. It wasn't good for his status in the Inuzuka clan, to say the least. Kuromaru was having his own thought about what was going on, but his master seemed to have something to ask Akuya, so he stayed quiet for now. Akuya, do you know who this mystery boy is? Asked Sume as she looked down on Akuya with expecting eyes, like she was waiting for something to happen. Yea, he said his name was Naruto, spoke Akuya, seeing Sume's eyes almost telling her to continue. He didn't give a last name though, finished Akuya. Huh, I wonder why the brat didn't tell Kiba his last name, spoke Kuromaru as he figured the boy was just being a bit too secretive for his tastes. Maybe he doesn't want any fans following him around, spoke Sume as she stood up and began to walk towards the academy. Why would the boy have fans? Asked Akuya as she walked alongside Sume's left side. That boy, if I am right, is basically royalty in this village, spoke Sume as she jumped up on the roofs, quickly followed by the 2 ninja dogs. Sounds interesting, spoke Kuromaru as he walked alongside Sume's right side. Sume didn't say anything after that and just bolted towards the academy, hoping to find her son soon so that she could give him an earful. With Naruto and Kiba. Kiba sneezed a bit, which caused Naruto to bless him and to see if he was okay. After Kiba cleaned out his nose a bit, which Naruto found was weird, he sniffed the air for a moment before sighing, which Naruto found weird again. I don't know this for sure, but I think someone is talking about me, spoke Kiba as he looked around him. Anything good? Joked Naruto with a smile. Jerk, spoke Kiba as his shoulders slumped. Whoa, spoke Naruto as he looked forward, seeing the academy coming into view along with lots of other kids and their parents. All were wishing them the best of luck in following their dreams of becoming great ninja one day. Wow, this is awesome, spoke Kiba as he ran forward with Naruto close behind. Not far away, Kushina, Tsunade, and Shizune were walking around the courtyard where all of the other parents were wishing their children the best of luck, hoping to find Naruto, but oddly they hadn't been able to find him yet. They found it weird since they were sure he ran off at top speeds to get to the academy, so he should have already been there. Damn it, this is starting to piss me off, spoke Tsunade as she ignored more people who tried to walk up to her and kiss her. She really wasn't in the mood for false niceties and just wanted to find her son as soon as possible. Calm down, Lady Tsunade, I am sure he is around here somewhere. He probably just made some friends and is off having some fun, spoke Shizune, trying to keep his master from going crazy in front of all these people. She knew Tsunade was worried about Naruto, and in all actuality so was she, but they couldn't afford to let their emotions rule them right now. Maybe he already went inside, spoke Kushina as she looked up into the windows of the academy where the CL rooms were, hoping to see a blonde-haired boy, but to her disappointment she saw nobody who even resembled Naruto. Found you, came a voice from behind Tsunade, Shizune, and Kushina that had a unique tone to it. Tsunade wasn't in the mood and turned around to snap at whoever it was that was trying to brown-nose her, but was shocked when she came face to face with Tsume Inuzuka. Tsume, what are you doing here, and why are you looking for me? Asked Tsunade, knowing that Tsume wasn't the type to play the political game, and was actually an honest person who wanted what was best not only for the village and her clan, but for others as well. My son is starting his first year at the academy today, so I was going to wish him the best of luck, but we kind of got separated for a bit, spoke Tsume with a smile on her feral face. The reason I came to you was because I figured he would be with your son Naruto. All three of the girls were confused by what Tsume meant, so Kushina figured she should ask what was on everyone's minds. Why would you Naruto was with your son, and why do you think they would be with us? Asked Kushina, trying to figure out whatever it was that they were missing. Tsume looked surprised by the question and took a quick look around before looking back at them with a confused look on her face. Strange, I was sure that it was your son who helped my son out if what Akuya said was true, spoke Tsume as she looked around for another minute. That is strange, but if Kiba is not with your son, then where is your son? Naruto ran ahead of us because we were having a heated discussion about personal matters and we haven't been able to find him since, spoke Tsunade with a sharp look in her eyes. What is all this about, Tsume? So maybe it was your son who helped mine out with those bullies earlier, spoke Tsume, but then she saw the expecting looks on all three of the girls' faces and decided to elaborate. Earlier Kiba ran off with one of the ninja dogs from my clan named Akuya, but he got himself in some trouble with some bullies from the school. He was saved though by a blonde-haired boy who fits the description I heard about your son, and Yumed it was him. Akuya said that they walked off together talking like old friends, so I Yumed that they would have ended up with you three eventually. Tsunade was so mad that her knuckles started to pop. That boy of mine leaves my sight for 10 minutes and is already getting into fights. I will have to teach him to pick and choose his battles from now on, thought Tsunade, not even thinking about how strong Naruto was compared to even an experienced genin. Kushina was relieved that Naruto was alright since she had been having flashbacks the more time they spent looking for him about when Kumo Ninja tried to kidnap her when she was smaller and feared that maybe the same was happening to Naruto. It is good he is safe, and I am glad he helped Tsume's son out, but that boy is too noble for his own good. He could get hurt like that in the future one day, thought Kushina with a worried tone in her mind. Naruto is such a good boy. I am sure he will win more than a few hearts in the academy with that kind of attitude, thought Shizune as she sighed in relief knowing that Naruto was alright. She wondered how Tsunade would take Naruto dating, especially after their argument earlier, but decided to put that off until it was needed. Looking around, Shizune saw that her master and Kushina were lost in thoughts as she decided to ask her own question. So Naruto helped your son deal with some bullies and you were able to figure out it was Naruto just by his appearance, asked Shizune, figuring that Naruto was distinguishable with the markings on his face, and the bright warm color of his hair and eyes, but still that was a stretch of the imagination to think that Naruto was identified with just his features, since Tsunade rarely let him leave the compound, fearing he would be abducted or inated by enemy ninja. Tsume smiled a bit, showing some fang in it as well. While there are not a lot of people here in Konoha who have hair as golden as the sun and eyes as blue as the azure sky, it was his skills with medical ninjutsu that really caught my ears, spoke Tsume as she looked down at her ninja dog and pet him a bit. Akuya said that the boy was able to heal all 5 of the bullies that he easily defeated with medical ninjutsu, that the boy did almost like it was second nature, along with my son, who must have had some cuts and bruises as well. I figured there were not a lot of children that young who would use medical ninjutsu with that much skill, unless they were a child of Tsunade Senju, that is. Shizune nodded her head, seeing the logic in Tsume's assumption that Naruto was really Naruto Senju, future clan head of the Senju clan, son of the famous Tsunade Senju, genius extraordinaire, as well as other things as well that had become rumors in the village over the years. So if Naruto and your son are all right, then why are they not here? Spoke Tsunade, getting back to the topic that had kept her in such a foul mood since she left her clan's compound. He is now, spoke Kuromaru as he looked over towards a tree that was in the center of the courtyard just as a blonde-haired boy appeared carrying a brown-haired boy with him. Only Tsume could understand him, being the only Inuzuka in the areas, so when she turned around to look at the tree, Tsunade, Kushina, and Shizune were confused, but when they saw Naruto and Kiba they instantly ran towards them, followed by Tsume and Kuromaru. With Naruto and Kiba, Kiba was shocked to say the least, and a bit dizzy, when Naruto had grabbed him when they had entered the courtyard of the academy and then disappeared in some kind of spinning leaf vacuum, only to appear standing in a tree a few moments later. Dude, what was that? Asked Kiba, trying to keep his eyes focused on one target so he wouldn't get motion sick and throw up in front of all the other kids and their parents. That would totally ruin his representative for the rest of his life. What? Haven't you ever traveled using the leaf style body flicker technique before? Asked Naruto, thinking that would be common for a ninja family after all. I haven't ever even heard of that jutsu, let alone experienced it, spoke Kiba as he looked down and noticed that they were high up in a tree. Dude, why are we in a freaking tree this high up in the air? I wanted to get a good view of the area, duh. Why are you so worried about it? Just use the wall walking exercise on the tree and you won't fall down, I promise, spoke Naruto as he continued to look around the village and academy, feeling so excited. The wall walking what? Asked Kiba, not understanding what Naruto was saying. Really, it was like this kid was speaking a second language sometimes. Naruto went to say something, but then he heard someone yell, Naruto, don't move or I promise you will regret it, coming from below that sounded awfully like his mother. When he looked down, he saw his mother looking up at him with terrifying eyes. I am so screwed, spoke Naruto with a sad voice. Kiba heard him right before he heard, Kiba, we are going to have a long talk when you come down, and was terrified to see his mother looking up at him with those slanted eyes of hers. Who is that? Asked Kiba and Naruto at the same time when they looked at the other's mother and then each other at the same time as well. My mother, they both said before their heads dropped comically. Yuta, spoke Kiba and Naruto at once. Yeep, was all they said as their mothers started to come up the tree with determined looks on their faces. We're dead, was all Kiba could say, looking down at his mom. Without a doubt, spoke Naruto, waiting for whatever was to come.